Good morning, everyone. And it is a beautiful morning wherever you are, and we are all enjoying it, I'm sure. I'm wearing my autumn shirt. I hope you notice that it's got its fall colors in it. A gift from beautiful Natasha, of course.
Thank you.
I never buy anything for myself anymore. She buys everything, and she's got great taste, I think. Maybe not in men, but she does have great taste in clothing. Okay, having said all that, the title of the talk today is uh, you can look at it two ways. One, you can say it's about time, and the other way, you can say it's about time. And there was once long ago, I think most of you would remember an actress named Imogene Coca, who had a little comedy on television called It's About Time. She played the wife of some guy, I can't remember his name, and they were caveman and woman. Anybody recall that? Anybody see it? It's About Time? Well, it wasn't very good, but it had Imogene Coca in it, who was extremely funny, and so I watched it a little bit as a kid. Um, but I want to talk about It's About Time. It's because time is the center word in this talk today. How time affects us and how we affect time, how it enters into our lives and makes a big difference in our lives, and how there are some strange things that happen around time itself. For instance, we look into the sky at night, if it's a nice clear night, and we see a star, not a planet, but a star, far, far, far away, or a cluster of stars. And we look at that and we think, I'm observing this star right now. When in truth, that star or cluster of stars may be thousands of light years away. And the light that we are observing now is thousands of years old, but just now getting to us. So, that being the case, where is time in all that? Where is it exactly? I think that we have to just break it down and simplify it and say that time is in the observer as opposed to in the moment that it is expressed through this emanation of a star or so forth. If we were to see a sudden star collapse or explode in the sky, we would think that it was happening right now, when in reality it happened thousands of years ago, according to the way that we measure time here on Earth. So that begs the question, what do we really mean when we say be here now? When is now? When is this time actually occurring? When we talk about the present moment, are we talking about something that is occurring that has already occurred thousands of years ago and we're just a part of it all? Or are we talking about our expression of it or the way that we feel about it in the present moment, what we call the present moment? Time slides around a lot. It can be a source of frustration for us when we are waiting for something to happen. Time seems to just crawl by. But if we're busy and just really focused on our attention on what we're doing or what we need to be having in our lives, time seems to escape from us. It seems to go by very quickly. You know, Bob Dylan wrote a song and he says in that song two phrases. At the end of one verse, he says, "Time passes slowly when you're searching for love." Then later in the song, as the mood changes in the song and you've discovered somebody, he says, "Time passes quickly when you're so much in love." Time passes slowly when you're searching for love. Time passes quickly when you're so much in love. He understood this, and I'm sure all of us do. And I picture time occurring in my life and in your lives like a spiral. When something is occurring in childhood, it seems like it takes forever for time to pass. I don't know about the rest of you, but I spent a lot of time looking at the clock, the big clock in school, wondering when is the next tick of the clock going to go by so that soon recess will be here or lunchtime or anything but this, or the end of the day of school. Anything but this awful feeling of sitting at this desk doing these silly things over and over and over. I wanted to just say to the teacher, whoever it was, I got it. I got it the first time. I don't need to keep doing this over and over. The only time that I felt like I did need to do something over and over was cursive writing. I just wasn't a very good cursive writer. And if any of you remember the first and second grades, the pencils were so huge it was like a log in your hand. And that always made me feel strange. I was thinking, we all have little small fingers. Why don't we have a little small pencil that we can use? Why do we have to have this big giant thing? And I don't know if they still use those in schools nowadays, but if they do, why? I never got it. I still don't get it. Now, I guess the only reason is so that you wouldn't be standing up there at the pencil sharpener all the time because it was too big to go in the pencil sharpener. But that's neither here nor there now. School's over. Time has passed. It passed slowly, but it got done. And now here we are. This spiral then continues out and out and out in our lives until we reach this age. And I don't know exactly about you, but I could guarantee almost perfectly that time passes so quickly. Each week just whizzes by. Fortunately, I have a little clock by my bedside that not only has the time but the day on it, because I have to look to see, is this Thursday or Saturday? I don't remember which, and they all start running together. That's one of the funny things about retirement is that a day is a day. That's all it is. It doesn't matter which day it is. So that's how time seems to work. It's like this spiral. I used to think that it was a spiral going down, getting tighter and tighter and faster, but it's not. I don't think. I think it actually is slow at the beginning because the circumference of the circle or the part of the spiral is tighter. But then as you get out to the edge, for a day or a week or a year to occur, you are flying at an incredible rate to be able to get this time in. And that's the way it would be if you were on a carousel. If you're on the outer side of the circumference of the carousel, it's going pretty fast. But as you walk toward the center of the carousel, you don't feel that gravity pull on you nearly as much. And that's the way it is. You didn't feel the gravity pull, now you do. And we are moving and moving so fast in time. So is time relative, or is it just our perception of time? Well, that's pretty obvious. It's our perception of time. The day still goes by tick, 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 every second, every minute, every hour, until the day is over. But it passes quickly because of our perception of time and how we are involved with it. Now, Friday, I had an experience, or actually it didn't occur to me, it occurred to my brother. He passed away. My brother died. He was my younger brother. He was my only brother. He was 7 years younger than I am. But he had a lot of health issues, extreme health issues. He was diabetic and emphysema and any number of things. And then when he contracted COVID, he died from the complications of COVID because of all these other things that were involved in his life. He really died from those, but COVID just kind of tipped him over the edge. It's like he caught pneumonia. It could have been pneumonia or anything, or a flu or anything. It was just, his body was weak and it was time to go. Time. Now, I don't think of my brother as the guy that he was in this day and age. I never do and never have. I think of him as that little boy that used to trail after me, 7 years younger, and want me to play with him and do things. And I was a little bit older and it was a little boring, but I did it. And I stayed with him, and I must admit, I had a little bit of resentment being with him, because I wanted to be out with the other boys my own age. But I'm glad I was. I have these memories going back in time of who he was and our relationship together. That's the good part. And that's how time works. I think it works for each one of us this way. It works that we have the ability to remember. Remember. You ever think about what that word means exactly? It means put back together. We can put back together the ideas and the thoughts and the feelings that we once had, and be able to see them in the relationship that is the most important to us. So for him, I just say Godspeed. I know that you were becoming more and more trapped in a body you didn't really appreciate, and it was time to let it go. And I'm sure there's a lot of ease in your soul right now. So I'm glad for that. Time, though, can be so tricky for us, as I've already described. It can go fast, it can go slow, it can escape us, it can trap us, depending on our perception of time. Now, having said all that, that's all in the relative existence that we all have as human beings. In the absolute, where we say God, or whatever you want to call it, is, there is no thing such as the past, the present, or the future. It's all one. All one. Everything in the mind of God, or in the relation, or in the perception of God, is all happening at once. There is no time standing in the way that is linear as we experience it. It's all happening at once. It's absolute. Time is, yeah, but it's not in this linear form. It's happening all at once. The past, the present, and the future. Because in the mind or idea of God, there's only one time. Right now. Just right now. That's all there is. That's why we like to say, be here now. Be present. Be present in the moment that we call now, for that is the dwelling place or the origin place of that which we experience as spirit within ourselves and all around us. I wrote a song once, long ago, and it was called The Measure of Your Worth. And there was a little piece of the song, the little chorus of the song that said this: time is all we have on earth to guide us. We're locked in from the moment of our birth. But when the time is gone, there's nothing left to hide us. So the way you spend your time is the measure of your worth. Thank you, everybody. God bless.
Wow, is it time already? Is it over?
It's time.
It's a messy. I mean, I know the time was invented so everything wouldn't happen at once, but that was one of the shortest but most interesting messages in a while. I haven't heard that for some time about the way you presented that. I I know Jesse and I are just like 5 o'clock will come by and I go, what what happened to the rest of the day?
Yeah. The sun's going down. How'd that
Where did
happen?
it go? And by the way, what day is this? You know, a weekend again, another Zoom meeting. We just had one the other day, didn't we? No, we didn't. It's like,
Yeah, this talk snuck up on me, and I had been doing some things, and then that experience about my brother happened, and suddenly I got your email that came out that said our speaker this week is Reverend Terry Dearmore. It's like, wow, oh yeah. So
well,
that's
thank God the internet still works,
yeah,
because we'd be talking amongst ourselves like we usually do.
yeah.
As far as writing on the board, I don't know if you all did, but I can actually remember. I will not use that word in class again. I will not use that word in class again. I will not use that word in class again.
Oh
And
well.
I'd stay after class to keep writing the 200 times that I had to write that. So, Gloria, did you ever make anybody do that in your classes?
No, no.
I did. I had that. Yes, and I would cheat on the paper and I would write down I will not. You know, instead of writing out the sentence each time and boring it into my brain, I just figured out okay, there's 10 of these things I've got to do, and so I'll just do them that way.
Your talk also brings me back to when I was in New York. We went to steeplechase at Coney Island, and they had one of those big, gigantic, circular things where you get into it, and you stand up, and
Yeah,
then the it starts spinning, and the bottom drops out, and it's a
yeah,
cone. And
you're
then
right. And then it tilt. Did it tilt? Then did it
no, this just spun real quick,
on and fell out? Yeah.
and you had to like to turn your head. There are all kinds of jokes about that, about just trying to because you were really thrust up against the wood behind you, and it you could feel that it didn't feel comfortable. It wasn't cushioned, but those are the old days. And I remember the steeplechase. It was you got on a horse and it went outside and around, and there really wasn't much to hold you on the horse. It wasn't one of the safest rides. So there's a lot of things that we remember doing, and the jokes about the monkey bars. The guy. You hear comedians writing jokes about that. It said they have pads underneath the bars, and they're plastic, or they're pads. I grew up in Chicago where they tried to kill you when you got onto the monkey bars. It was the
Yeah, kids were
idea. It's
swinging,
concrete.
kicking, and yeah.
So unmute yourselves and share what you'd like to for a few minutes, and then we'll close the recording. Anybody like to add to today's message? So it's about time that someone spoke up. Yes,
Yes,
Jody.
I can't have silence, It is a fault. Anyway, I'm wearing my fall shirt today too. I
Yeah.
so um
My fall shirt.
yeah, yeah. Time is a you know uh something that is like going down a rabbit hole when you start thinking about it. My grandfather, from when I was really little, I didn't know what he was talking about. He used to always say, don't think about that. It'll take you out of time. It'll take you thoughts out of time. And and I realized as I got older, he was always talking about, what's beyond this star, what's beyond that star, what's out there, what happened here, what happened there. He was really talking about time, and that it was important to stay connected to this time, because if you start thinking too much, you will lose your connection to the time. Yeah, it's pretty good. I thought that was pretty good advice from a farmer. And so I do think about time a lot. I remember in a classroom once, I always allowed my kids a chance to debate, and this class was trying to think which one this was. It was probably a philosophy type of class. And the biggest discussion that the kids got into really didn't go into a quarrel, but it was a heavy discussion, was about time. And I try to incorporate spirituality into all of my classes. So the kids knew what other people's background is, if they were atheists, if they were Catholic, if they were. So I had a couple of good Calvinists in the class and a couple of strong Catholics in the class. And they started talking about time and predestination. And this kid said, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go over to the door and I'm going to turn the light on and off. And he said, and he went and did it. Came back. He said, the reason why I did that is that God had already had it planned out. Everything that I'm doing is already planned out by God. It's all in the order, all in the timeline of my life. And the Catholic kid said, God can't do that because in God, there is no time. And they said, well, how does he know what's going to happen to me? He said, he doesn't. It's already happened. And they got into a deep discussion. And, my thought was maybe, it could become a touch point for them later in their thinking about this kind of thing. But it was really interesting because they really started thinking more deeply about, is God's existence the same as ours? I mean, does he get up at 9 o'clock in the morning and he's got certain things to get done during the day? He got to answer all those prayers, But and you made me think about that. You certainly made me think about my being in school and watching that clock for sure.
And
What?
what I was going to say is you have to say that not only have seen that show, but the song.
Oh, yeah, I know the song about It's About Time. Yeah,
It's about space. It's about
Yeah.
That's from that program I'm talking
Yes,
about.
that's right.
Yeah.
I've sung that song to Zach a lot. And I like the idea of memories where you said it's putting things back together, because when you do have a strong memory, you are reliving that. It's not like you're in the past, obviously, but you are experiencing the past. And so that made me think a bit about that. Anyway, it was a very good very good talk. Very good for the beginning of autumn when we're seeing the progression of, our perception of time, and things are changing, but it's still the cycle. It's going to come back around, and anyway, I appreciated that. And we'll be thinking and having you in our prayers regarding your recent loss, but I understand your position on that, and you and your peace with that. So
Yeah, real quickly, let me tell you a story about him that really sticks in my mind, in my memory, and it's this: he was about 3.5, 4 years old, and I was, 11, something like that, and a friend of mine and I were deciding that we're going to go out in a place that had a little bit of woods to it and shoot our BB guns, and so we started walking down the alleyway between our houses to go out to the woods, what we call the woods. And the city had decided to fix some of the sewer lines, and they knew that there was a crack in that that existed in that alley about 10 feet underground. Maybe not that far, 8 to 10 feet underground. So they had been digging and digging and digging, these guys, and and made a big hill of dirt all around the edge of this big hole. It was about 10 feet across, this hole. And they dug and dug and dug down there till they could get to that pipe. There it was, this big 8-inch pipe exposed underneath the ground. And I heard my little brother behind me, and I turned to him and I said, "Go home, go on home, don't follow us, go home." And he just kind of very sadly, was standing there, just standing there. And we turned around, my friend and I started walking, and we went up one side of this hill of stuff, hill of dirt, and walked around the edge of it very carefully, and then on out the other side. And we were talking, and we had gone about, 5 or 6 feet from that hole, and suddenly I heard this thump. And I thought, "Did you hear that?" And he said, "Hear what?" I said, "I heard a thump." And I went and looked back down in that hole, and there he was looking up at me. He walked right over the edge and walked right up in that hole. And it was pretty deep. I had to ask my friend to help me hold on to my arms and lower me down into the hole, and then pick him up and put him on my shoulders and stand up high enough and got him to reach out his arms so that we lifted him out of the hole and put him on the side of the ground, and then he helped me out. My friend helped me out. Then came those famous words, "Don't tell mom.
Right.
Don't tell mom. Go home and don't tell mom." Well, when we got back, my mother said, "How did he get so dirty? Why is he so dirty?" And that's my memory.
That's a good one.
Could have killed him, but it didn't. So.
Gloria?
I wanted to say something about the perception of time, because time has passed, but I don't feel as old as I am.
Right.
So it's my perception of time, or is it my perception of me, or what?
Mhm.
About a week ago, I heard some people down at YouTube talking about the new Webb telescope, and they were talking about Betelgeuse, which is the brightest star in the Orion complex. And they said, it's going to supernova. It's going to be bright as the moon. You'll be able to see it in daylight. And I'm saying, I haven't heard a peep for 3 weeks
Mhm.
about that happening. Haven't seen any bright light in the sky. So, and that's how many light years for? I don't know, 4,000 light years away.
Well, it's important they didn't say that name 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
It might have been a lot worse than just bright.
Yeah.
Leon, did you have you were unmuted? Did you want to add something?
Well, I just wanted to say something about the memories, and I think it's a nice thing if we remember folks that pass on at their best. You know, so many of the pictures of the obituaries are folks that are not at their best, and I don't know why that is, but anyway, when we talk about the memories, you know, it's might be different for different people, but it's always nice to think of folks at their best. So
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. I
that
remember
kind of slows time down.
some people that had passed in our own community, you know, like Marcia Bernhardt. It was a celebration. The funny things that she did and the kids and all the videos that we put up on the screen by her family. I mean, they were hilarious, a lot of them. And that's what we remember. It's a celebration. Anybody else before we stop the recording? Okay. We go to